Please do the honor. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so starting off with our agenda and housekeeping as per usual, we're going to start with some high-level basics about the FSC trademarks before moving into various ways you can use the trademarks, including some brand examples. And then we're going to talk about the specifics of using your promotional license, including submitting for approval and more. We will dive into the various tools at your disposal, and we'll go over some exciting things happening at FSC before we open up the floor for questions. If you have questions during the presentation, feel free to put it in the chat or jot it down. Or honestly, we're a pretty small group, so if you prefer to raise your hand during the presentation and ask your question, we can do that as well. Otherwise, like I said, we will have Q&A at the end, and so you can ask it at that point. This presentation is only going to be around 20 to 25 minutes, so we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. A lot of this information will likely be things you've already seen, things you already know, but again, this is meant to be a refresher on kind of the basics on trademark use and promotional licensing. And this is geared towards current promotional license holders. So like I said, should be pretty standard information for you, but again, I hope it's a good refresher. So, jumping right on in, what are the FSC trademarks? They include the FSC logo, the FSC initials, and the full Forest Stewardship Council name. One thing that's really important to note as we talk about the trademarks is that those Forest for All Forever marks you see here will be retired as of September of this year to align with the Empowering Consumers Directive in the EU. There has been information shared on this that you've probably seen. If not, let us know and we can make sure you have access to that. But we have two major changes coming out with that directive. One is the retirement of the Forest for All Forever marks, and then the other is the retirement of the promotional panel. We're going to do a walkthrough of the brand hub later on in this webinar, and at that point, I'll kind of show you what I mean when I talk about the promotional panel. But for now, what's important to note is those Forest for All Forever marks will be retired. So, looking at the differences between on and off product trademark use, it is important to note the distinction between the two. You can see the major differences listed here. When we refer to on product trademark use, we're talking about the label or any other logo or statements using the FSC trademarks that are on a product or its packaging. So that can be physically on the product, physically on the product's packaging. It could be a hang tag, it could be a sticker. There's a few different ways that that could appear. But the important thing to note with that is it's only done by certified companies. So promotional license holders cannot put any sort of logo or trademark use on the actual product. Off product refers to any promotional marketing that occurs off of the product. So this would be websites, social media, email campaigns, in-store signage, brochures, catalogs, anything like that. And this is something that can be done by both promotional license holders and certified companies. So it's important to note the distinction between those two when we talk about trademark use. So let's dig into some ways that you can use the trademarks as a promotional license holder. So you can use the FSC trademarks to promote your products in store through displays and other signage. You can see sort of a mock-up version of that here. And then you can also see a real example from Target from a few years ago where they have the FSC logo and a little statement and their license code listed there. So those are examples of signage that can be used. You can use the trademarks to clearly identify certified products on your product pages or share more about your sustainability goals as they relate to FSC, as you can see in these examples from Target and Crate and Barrel. You can also use social media to highlight the certified products you offer. This is a good example from Sol de Janeiro, highlighting their perfume Miss Discovery set. The box is FSC certified, as they state in this caption. And you can use the FSC logo in print or email catalogs and brochures. Again, you can see two examples here. It's a little small, but you can see the call outs on these examples from Williams Sonoma and Crate and Barrel highlighting their FSC certified products in their print catalogs. So now that you've seen just a few examples on where you can use the trademarks to promote these products, let's dive a little bit deeper into the ins and outs of actually using your promotional license. So first, we're going to start talking about supplier verification. So this refers to submitting documentation for your suppliers and your products. This occurs when you apply for a promotional license and any time during your license term that you want to add new suppliers or products. There are three main items that need to be submitted: the list of products you plan to promote, and we have a template spreadsheet that you can use for this. You need to then have a corresponding supplier letter or invoice, which I will get into in a moment, and those must coordinate with that list of products that you provided. And then finally, where available, we do ask for sample images of these products with that FSC on product label visible. So let's get into what a sample supplier letter can look like. I would say this is probably the most common form of documentation we receive when it comes to supplier verifications. This is a letter that would be coming from your supplier where they're filling this information out, saying that they are a certified company and that they're providing these specific products to you as the promotional license holder. So some key things to note about this is it must be dated. This is really important for tracking and making sure that we have accurate information as to when it was produced. So make sure that that letter is dated. When possible, please have it on the supplier's letterhead. Again, this is meant to be a letter coming directly from your supplier. So when possible, having it on their letterhead is important. Before you submit the supplier letter, we do ask that you also make sure that you take a look at this information and make sure that it's accurate. So you can use search.fsc.org to verify all of the information listed here. And that just helps streamline the process if you can catch something before we do. So looking at the product information, the product code and then the product name and description should match whatever you've submitted on the list of products. So that's super important for our cross-checking and verification purposes. Make sure that whatever product code is listed, whether it's a SKU or some other code type, make sure that that is corresponds with that list of products that you provided. The license code that is on the label should always begin with FSC-C. That stands for certificate holder. So if it's on a product, it should always be FSC-C. And in most cases, whatever this license code is on the label should most of the time match with whoever your direct supplier is. Now, there are certain situations where you would have a label printed by a different certified company in the supply chain, but I would say most commonly, whoever you're sourcing directly from is likely going to be who's going to be printing that label on the product. The FSC claim that is on the label should fall within the scope of your certified supplier's product scope, which can be found at search.fsc.org. If it says FSC 100%, you'll need to make sure that for that specific product type, which in this case we're looking at a table, that they are able to supply FSC 100%. And then this category here is just meant as kind of a double check, just one more time confirming that the product does carry that FSC label. Again, that is a requirement for promoting a product. It does need to be labeled, so it's important to make sure that that is the case there. So we just like to make sure that we ask one more time, does the product have a label that's visible to the consumer? Okay, now let's get into a sample invoice, which would be the other accepted form of supplier verification. Again, it's less common that we see invoices submitted. However, you are, of course, absolutely allowed to submit an invoice instead of a supplier letter. So again, a few things to note. Date, again, very important for making sure that we have proper information for the certified company. Sometimes a company's certification will end, but you purchased the products while their certification was valid. And so as long as that invoice reflects when it was purchased, when their certification was still valid, that's acceptable. So very important to make sure that the date is listed there. The company issuing the invoice should be a valid certificate holder. And again, this can be verified at search.fsc.org. In terms of product information, pricing information can be redacted. That is one piece of information that we don't require. And so for privacy purposes, you can redact any pricing information, but the products must be clearly identified as FSC certified, and then the certificate information and claim should be included. So you can see here, it appears as a line item identified as FSC certified with an asterisk bringing you down to the more specific certificate information and FSC claim. Again, all of this can be verified at search.fsc.org. So I was mentioning that on product label. Let's take a quick look at this. So again, on product labeling is outside of the scope of promotional licensing. Only certified companies can place the FSC label on a product. However, it is helpful for you to know what to look for when it comes to the label. So your certified supplier should know all of the rules for placing the label on the products. But again, it's a good idea to be aware of what the requirements are so that you can catch any mistakes early on. The required elements on the on-product label are the FSC logo, the FSC claim, and then the product type and license code. If you see any of these items missing or you see a code that doesn't start with FSC-C, make sure to work with your supplier to correct these mistakes. I'm also going to note it would be helpful for you probably to review the trademark standard for certificate holders, which can be found on the FSC Document Center. I will mention this a little bit later on in the presentation again as well, but the new trademark standard for certificate holders was released as of January 1st of this year, so that has not gone into effect quite yet. It will shortly here in the next coming months, and then there is quite a long transition period, but just be aware that that new standard will be coming into effect shortly. So as you're looking at that, the new standard is available for you to take a look at, as well as the old standard. So trademark usage approvals is kind of the second part of that verification and approval process with your promotional license. So anytime you wish to use the FSC trademarks for any sort of marketing or promotional uses, it must be approved by our office. So these are the general steps that we recommend that you take when you are working on creating an asset for approval. So first and foremost, we recommend that you review the trademark use guide for promotional license holders. This is a really great place to start. It'll outline all of the requirements for using the trademarks in promotion as a promotional license holder. And then utilizing the brand hub is also a great idea as well. We're going to do a quick walkthrough of that, like I said. So I'll kind of show you a little bit more about what is available there, but there are a variety of customizable and ready to use assets for you to use. With the trademark use guide, in conjunction with the new trademark standard, we are revising this use guide and expect that to be released in the next coming months here as well. A little insider information, I just reviewed the first kind of designed draft of it, and I think it's going to be a big improvement from what we currently have, a lot more examples, a lot more easy to use and read. So keep an eye out for that in the coming months here. So once you've created your asset, you send it to our office for approval via email. This can be sent as a screenshot, a mockup, an attachment, anything that works for your system, and we will take a look. Typically, it takes us about a week to take a look and provide either comments or an approval. We can make approvals faster if need be. So if you have a specific timeline you're working with, please let us know. Although in general, the more time you can give us, obviously, the better for approvals. Here are a few common mistakes that we typically see. I would say first and foremost, forgetting to include your license code is a common mistake. So your license code needs to be included at least once per promotional material. So that there are different kind of requirements depending on what the actual material is. For example, if it's a catalog, it just needs to appear once in the catalog on your website. It can just be once on your website on a sustainability page or in the footer. Any standalone like signage, anything like that, it does need to be on each one. So if you have questions about that let us know, but make sure that your license code is included. And again, that would be the license code associated with your company as a promotional license holder, and it would look like FSC-N followed by 6 digits. The next piece of information that we often see missing is the proper registration mark, which must be used after the first and or most prominent use of FSC and Forest Stewardship Council in text. So depending on the area that you are sending this promotion, in the US, we use the Circle R mark. However, in different areas, the TM is used, and we have a registration list. Again, I will show you exactly where to find that in the brand hub, which outlines where or which countries use which registration marks. So that's an important thing to take a look at. And then just a couple of kind of logo misuses that we see here in general, using the logo on a patterned background. We recommend that you put it on more of a solid background. It can be placed on any background that provides proper legibility, but that kind of is up to our discernment. So to be safe, we do recommend putting just some sort of colored background behind it so that it is not hard to see, and then making sure that the proper minimum space is being adhered to. Okay. So now we've got a few platforms that we're going to give you a little bit more information on. The Brand Hub, like I mentioned, we're going to go through the Certified Products portal, and then I will hit quickly on the Promotional License Holder e-training. So the FSE Brand Hub is a tool that was released early last year that replaces the FSE Trademark Portal and Marketing Toolkit. It's made up of four sections: the trademark designs, assets, campaigns, and guidelines. And I am going to do a quick walkthrough. Let's see if I can get this going without making you too dizzy. Okay, you should all hopefully be seeing the Brand Hub now. You can see that I am in the role of promotional license holder. So this is what you would see when you log in. You can see here, as I said, the trademark designs, asset library, campaigns overview, and then the guidelines as well. So starting with the trademark designs, you can see here that you have three options. You have promoting with the FSC logo, promote with Forest for All Forever, and then the standalone trademarks. So both of these first options are what you're going to see changes with. So promoting with Forest for All Forever, for example, this is that mark that is going to be removed, and you'll see here the first time or until you kind of confirm, you will get this notification that describes just what we talked about. So on the actual Brand Hub, it'll actually be removed as of June 1st, following a September 1st effective date for making sure that you've removed those marks. So I would recommend just from now on not worrying about this Forest for All Forever mark. I would not create new assets with it. Similarly, with the promotional panel, this is what I mentioned earlier as well. You get another notice here. This promotional panel lockup design is going to be retired as well, with that empowering consumers directive alignment that we have going on. So this is not something that you'll have access to either. However, the standalone trademarks is where I recommend going. This is where you will get those logo files. You can, again, select the proper trademark. In the US, it should be the circle R, and you can pick your color, and you can download an SVG file, PNG, PDF, JPEG, etc. So that's a quick little overview on sort of the trademark designs, the various logos. Moving into the assets quickly, I'm also going to note we do have more in-depth videos on our YouTube channel. We did a couple of webinars on the Brand Hub, so if you want more of a slower walkthrough, feel free to take a look at those. They are a good place to kind of get familiarized with it, but I also recommend just jumping into the Brand Hub and kind of playing around yourself. So this is the asset page where you can see a variety of ready to use and customizable assets, ranging from social media posts to signage for factories and forests and things like that. So there's quite a variety that you can look at here. Many of them allow you to upload your own images for social media and things like that. So a great place to go if you're looking for some inspiration on how to start using the trademarks in various ways, whether it be signage or social media. Moving on to the campaigns, this is where you will see information about Forest Week 2026. You can see it hasn't been updated quite yet, but that should be coming really shortly here. Once that is updated, that is where you will be able to register and receive all of the Forest Week assets. And then the guidelines page, I wanted to spend a couple minutes here because I think the guidelines page can be a little bit confusing. I would actually refer to this more as just general resources. There are obviously a lot of guidelines in here, video tutorials, etc. But there are a lot of really important resources outside of just sort of the Brand Hub how-tos. You can see here that empowering consumers directive alignment that I referenced, as well as an FAQ for promotional license holders can be found here. So highly recommend taking a look at that if anything I was mentioning was confusing or didn't seem like things you had heard about before. I would jump in here and take a look at that. And then the other piece I wanted to note was that trademark registration list can always be found here. So I'm not going to open it up because it'll just download automatically when you click it, but it's an Excel document that outlines exactly which countries use which registration marks for the various trademarks. So that's an important list if you do promotion in other areas than the US to take a look at that list. So this is a great place to be. You can see a variety, like I said, guides on how to use the Brand Hub, but then the promotional license holder trademark use guide, other important information can be found there. So that is the brand hub. And now bear with me to get back in here. Okay. Moving on to the Climate Pledge Friendly program and the FSC Certified Products Portal. So this is Amazon's sustainability marketplace where products can be badged under various certifications, and FSC is the only forestry certification recognized at this point. To be eligible for badging, you must either be a valid promotional license holder or certificate holder, and your products, not packaging, must be certified and labeled. So at this time, Amazon does not recognize FSC certified packaging for badging. That is their requirement, not ours. And there are also various product types that are excluded. So for a full list of those excluded items, please contact us. FSC has a certified products portal that you will enroll in for participation in Amazon's Climate Pledge Friendly program. So here's a quick overview on how it works. We do have a variety of videos and how-tos on that as well that we can share with you. But in general, you follow these steps. You can import your products. It'll walk you through the process of what exactly needs to be uploaded in terms of documentation. Once you've submitted it, then we receive a notification and we go in and verify that information. We will either approve the products or ask for updates to be made, in which case you can go back in and directly make updates to those products and resubmit for approval. So once approved, the badge should appear in about a week's time on Amazon. And I do want to note that it's important that you are regularly logging into this portal to make sure that your submissions are up to date. If you haven't made an update, I think in a year's time, you'll get a notification saying it's time to get in here and update these products because we want to make sure that we don't have any stagnant products sitting. So it's good to just go in, take a look, make sure things are updated. If nothing has changed, you should be able to just resubmit the products as is for approval moving forward with that. And just quickly, this is what that actually looks like in action on the front end of Amazon. You can see a Hasbro game here has that sustainability feature badge, which when you open it up, it indicates that it's FSC certified. And lastly, I just wanted to plug the e-training course again for promotional license holders. So this is an online training that is specifically designed to help you and your teams quickly integrate into the FSC promotional licensing program and master the use of FSC trademarks. So this is something that covers every essential aspect of using the FSC trademarks in your promotions, which will hopefully simplify and speed up the approval process for you. There is a quick quiz at the end after you've gone through the course to test your knowledge. The entire training, including the quiz, takes only about 45 minutes. And if you score at least 80% on the quiz, you will get a virtual certificate of completion. And this is a completely free training for promotional license holders to use. It can be found on FSC's e-training site, and we're happy to share a link if you are looking for that after this webinar. Okay, finally, I've got a few things that I want to highlight that are coming up at FSC, and then we will get into Q&A and we can go back and revisit any topics that you have questions on, comments, anything like that. So quickly, as I mentioned, the new trademark standard was released as of January, and there is a series of webinars being hosted by the international trademark team on this new standard on a variety of topics. So as a promotional license holder, this isn't directly applicable to you, but as I mentioned, because your suppliers are following this, because many of you are very involved in the labeling process and the design of these products, it is very helpful to be aware of what this new trademark standard looks like, what the new requirements are. So we do recommend, if you're available to attend any of these, that you do attend them, just so that you, again, have that information as you're working with your suppliers. Forest Week 2026. So like I said, the brand hub has not quite been updated yet. However, we do have the date. So September 21st through the 27th of 2026, FSC Forest Week will be occurring. Please mark your calendars. We would love to see you participate. If you're not familiar with Forest Week, it is an online campaign hosted every year. In September, we provide you with a variety of assets that you can use. You can customize caption information that you can be posting on your social media channels to show your support for responsible forestry, show your commitment and how you work with FSC and highlight the good work that you are doing as a promotional license holder. So it's a great time to be active with that campaign. We are expecting to have the materials ready in, I believe, April. So just in about a month here. So the idea with this year is we're trying to get that out a lot earlier to you so you can hopefully get it built into your social media calendars for the year. So expect more information on that, but wanted to make sure that you had those dates. And then similarly, I'm excited to share that our annual conference, Stewardship in Action, will be taking place in Seattle, Washington this year in October 13th through the 15th. We should have registration also opening up in early April, so keep your eyes open for that. And again, mark your calendars. We would love to see you there if you came last year. Hopefully you found it helpful. It'll be about a day and a half of content, getting updates on what's happening with FSC, panels, discussions, things like that, and then some great social and networking opportunities as well. So we would love to see you there. And with that, that is all I had for you. At this point, we can transition to any questions you might have. I can go back on any of the topics and provide some clarity. But again, I hope this was just sort of a helpful refresher on some of those general trademark use requirements when it comes to promotional licensing.
Would you mind just resharing the Forest Week questions? Or sorry, dates?
Absolutely. I'll pop that back up. September 21st through the 27th.
Thank you.
Hmm. Absolutely. And we plan to send a save the date via email as well. So you should be getting that in the coming weeks here too. But yep, September 21st through the 27th this year. Okay,
Hi.
Jess, I'm seeing you have a handful of questions.
I do, yes. Lucky you. So I did get the opportunity to review the draft PLH guidelines this morning. Do you
Mhm.
know when they are going live?
The trademark use guide for promotional license holders. It should be, I think it's sometime in April that they should be going live because I know that we still have a few formatting, like the content is pretty much ready to go, but I do know that there's a few formatting things that we need to get switched around. So it should be this spring though, is my understanding that it will for sure be this spring.
Okay, so then the FSC Forest Week materials that you provide, they will comply with those new
Yeah.
guidelines then, theoretically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then my next question is when will e-training be modified to the new guidelines? Same time frame?
That's a great question. I'm not exactly sure when that will be modified, but I am assuming I don't think it's not happening in conjunction with the revision of the use guide, to my knowledge. So my guess is once the use guide has been finalized, at that point, the e-training will be updated. So I can try to get a date on that for you as well. But yeah, that's a great point that in general, in general, there shouldn't be major changes outside of, in particular, the promotional license, the promotional panel being retired and the Forest for All Forever marks. But this is the new guide will be in line with any changes from the trademark standard. So,
Okay.
mhm.
Okay, and one more question.
Yeah.
So will we be able to immediately use it or will we have to sign a new agreement? For example, like certificate holders have to be audited to the new trademark standard before they can use it. So will we as a license holder have to do the same thing? Do anything?
Nope, you should not
No.
have to. Nope. Besides being aware of the new changes, and just making sure that you are adhering with those new requirements, no, you should not have to be doing anything. No re-signing of agreements. However, when you do come up for renewal at whatever time, whatever your kind of 5 year your timeline is, the new legal templates will have updated information regarding some of these changes, and including the retirement force for all forever, things like that.
Got it. Thank you. That's it for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great questions. And I will see if I can get a date on when we expect that e-training to be updated as well. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute and ask or throw it in the chat. I'm going to also, while we're waiting, flip to this just so you have our emails. So you can jot those down if you don't have them. If you do have other questions, you can let us know about that. We do have a few other webinars that we plan to be hosting this year, so keep an eye out for more information on some of those upcoming webinars. And then, like I said, those trademark webinars as well for the new standard. Recommend attending those if you're able to. But not seeing any other questions. So to avoid making everyone sit here in silence, I think I'm going to go ahead and say we can wrap this up. Again, feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions. And thank you very much for attending. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.